The sun was burning high in the clear sky, painting everything in shades of gold and orange. A wide stretch of dusty road led to the entrance of a big old ranch. The wind blew softly, carrying the scent of dry grass and horses. Anna stood near the wooden gate staring at the long driveway that led to the barn. She had been on the road for hours, and her small truck was parked a few steps behind her. The engine had started to make strange noises 2 states ago, but she had pushed it forward with every bit of strength she had. This ranch was her last hope. She didn't have any backup plan left. Her jeans were dusty and her shoes were worn out. Her hair was messy, pulled back in a quick ponytail and a few strands stuck to her forehead. She had barely slept the night before, choosing to keep the truck running just enough to stay warm. Her stomach growled softly, reminding her she had skipped breakfast to save the last few dollars in her pocket. But she stood tall, even with tired eyes, because she knew turning back wasn't an option anymore. The sound of a horse neighing echoed through the ranch. Somewhere in the distance she could hear the rhythmic clinking of metal and the soft brushing of hay. This was not just any random place she found on a map. She had heard about this ranch for years, how they trained strong horses, raised hard-working cattle, and were always looking for people who could give their best. The owner, everyone said, was a man who didn't talk much but noticed everything. People called him Cowboy Jack. He wasn't famous, but in this part of the country everyone respected him. Anna had grown up in a small town with dreams of working on a ranch like this one. Life, however, had not gone the way she imagined. She had worked in small jobs, cafes, stores, even cleaning houses, but nothing had lasted. One by one, everything seemed to slip through her hands. The economy had hit her hard. She had lost her steady job, then her apartment, and finally her sense of stability. But even in the darkest nights, she held on to one quiet hope. If she could find a real chance, a real place to work hard and build a life, she would give it everything she had. She took a deep breath, pushed the gate open, and walked slowly toward the barn. Each step felt heavy but also filled with purpose. Her heartbeat quickened as she got closer. In front of the barn, a tall man wearing a brown hat and a checked shirt was tightening a loose rope on a wooden fence. His broad shoulders moved steadily, his hands strong and sure. She knew right away this must be Cowboy Jack. He looked like someone who didn't waste time on small talk, someone who built his world with hard work. He looked up when he heard her steps. For a moment, Anna froze. She wasn't used to asking for help. She wasn't used to begging for anything. But this time, pride had to wait. She forced herself to speak. "Excuse me," she said, her voice dry from the long drive. "Are you Mr. Jack?" He nodded slowly, wiping his hands with a piece of cloth. His eyes were sharp but calm, the kind of eyes that could see more than what people said out loud. "What can I do for you?" he asked. Anna swallowed. All the words she had practiced on the road suddenly disappeared. She wanted to say she was strong, that she could work harder than anyone, that she would prove herself. She wanted to tell him about all the nights she had spent dreaming of a place like this. But standing there under the bright sun with the weight of the past months pressing on her shoulders, all that came out was a whisper. "I'll do anything. Please hire me, Cowboy." The words surprised even her. They weren't rehearsed. They were real, soft, but full of everything she felt. She wasn't trying to impress him. She was just telling the truth. Jack didn't reply right away. He looked at her not with pity but with quiet thought. He had seen people come and go. Some were looking for adventure, others for a short paycheck. But something in Anna's eyes made him pause. They weren't the eyes of someone who wanted to escape reality. They were the eyes of someone trying to build it again from the ground up. "How long have you been on the road?" he finally asked. "A few days," Anna admitted. "I didn't have much left, so I just came here." She looked down for a moment, embarrassed. Her shoes were covered in dust, and her hands had tiny cuts from doing odd jobs along the way. She wasn't polished. She wasn't perfect. But she was real. "Do you know how to work on a ranch?" he asked again, his tone still calm but firmer this time. "I grew up around farms," she said quickly. "I can clean, cook, fix fences, take care of animals. I can learn fast, too. I won't waste your time." Jack turned slightly, his eyes drifting toward the horses in the distance. It was clear he wasn't easily convinced. The ranch wasn't a place for people who couldn't keep up. Days here were long and hard, but he also knew good hands were hard to find. And determination like hers. That was rare. Anna felt the silence stretch between them. For a second she wondered if she had made a mistake coming here. Maybe he would tell her to leave. Maybe he didn't hire strangers. Maybe this was the end of the road. Then a voice came from behind them, a woman carrying a bucket of water, wearing a sun hat and gloves. "Jack," she called. "Fence on the south side's coming loose again." Jack nodded, still looking at Anna. "I'll be there in a minute," he said, then turned back to her. "You'll need to work hard here. It's not easy. No fancy things, no shortcuts, just long days." "I don't need fancy," Anna replied quickly. "I just need a chance." Her answer came out steady, almost surprising her. It was true. She wasn't asking for comfort. She was asking for work, honest work, the kind that could build something inside her again. Jack studied her face one more time. He could see the exhaustion, the hunger, the fear, but beneath all that there was fire. He had seen it only a few times before in people who came to the ranch not just to survive, but to start over. "You can start tomorrow," he finally said. Anna blinked. For a moment she thought she hadn't heard him right. "Tomorrow?" she repeated softly. "Yes," he said. "We start early. 5 in the morning. You'll help clean the barn, feed the animals, and work where you're needed. If you can keep up, you'll stay." Tears filled her eyes, but she quickly blinked them away. She didn't want to cry in front of him. She nodded quickly. "I can do it," she whispered. He tipped his hat slightly. "Then get some rest tonight. It's going to be a long day." As he walked away to fix the fence, Anna stood still for a few seconds, letting the weight of his words sink in. It wasn't a full job yet. It was just a chance. But sometimes a single chance was all someone needed to change everything. She walked slowly back to her truck, the tiredness in her body replaced by a tiny spark of hope. The sun was starting to lower, turning the sky into soft shades of orange and pink. For the first time in weeks, she felt like she could breathe again. She leaned back in the seat of her old truck, closed her eyes, and let the warm air fill her lungs. She had a place to be tomorrow, a place where she could prove herself. The ranch around her slowly quieted down as the evening came. Horses moved softly in their enclosures. The wind carried the smell of hay, and somewhere far away someone laughed. It wasn't home yet, but it could be. Anna knew it wouldn't be easy. She knew there would be early mornings, sore muscles, and long, quiet nights. But she was ready for it. She had lost almost everything, but not her will to fight for a better life. And tomorrow, when the sun rose over the ranch, she would be there, ready to work, ready to rebuild, ready to start again. The first light of dawn painted the sky with soft colors of pink and gold. The air was cool and a faint mist hovered over the open fields. Anna opened her eyes inside the truck before the alarm went off. She had barely slept, but her heart was racing with energy she hadn't felt in a long time. Today was her first day. Her hands trembled a little as she tied her hair back, splashed water on her face, and took a deep breath. The ranch was quiet except for the soft sound of horses moving in their stalls and birds singing in the distance. The sky was still sleepy, but the land was already waking up. Anna stepped out of the truck, stretched her stiff body, and walked toward the barn. She had promised herself that no matter how hard it got, she wouldn't quit. When she reached the barn, she found Jack already there. He was wearing the same hat, the same calm expression, and he was holding a bucket of feed. He glanced at her for a moment and gave a small nod. "You're early," he said. Anna smiled nervously. "I didn't want to be late." He handed her a smaller bucket. "Good. Then let's get started." The first task was feeding the horses. Anna followed him down the row of stalls, copying what he did carefully. She tried to be quick, but her hands were clumsy at first. The horses were strong and restless, but she spoke to them softly, just like she used to do back home on the small farms. "Easy there," she whispered to one of them, stroking its neck. Its big brown eyes softened, and for a moment she felt a quiet connection. Jack noticed but said nothing. He just kept working. She respected that. She didn't need praise. She needed to prove herself through action. By the time the sun fully rose, the barn smelled of hay and fresh morning air. Anna's arms were already tired from lifting and carrying heavy buckets, but she pushed through. When Jack gave her the next job in cleaning the stalls, she didn't hesitate. She rolled up her sleeves, grabbed the shovel, and got to work. The morning stretched on. The sun climbed higher and sweat rolled down her forehead. Her back ached. Her legs felt like they were on fire, but she didn't slow down. Every time she wanted to rest, she reminded herself of the day she stood outside this gate, unsure if she'd even be given a chance. She wasn't going to waste it. By midday, the ranch was alive. Other workers joined in. a woman named Clara, who handled most of the cooking and cleaning, a quiet man named Sam who worked with the cattle, and 2 young ranch hands who trained the horses. At first, they looked at Anna with curious eyes. New people didn't last long around here. Most left after the first week. But Anna kept her head down and worked without complaint. During lunch, Clara sat beside her on a wooden bench. "You're a hard worker," she said with a small smile. "Not many last the first day without complaining." Anna wiped her hands with a napkin and gave a tired but happy smile. "I can do this. I have to." Clara nodded as if she understood something without needing more words. In the afternoon, Jack gave her the task of helping Sam fix a broken fence at the far end of the field. The sun was hot and bright, but the open land stretched beautifully in every direction. She carried tools, held the wood in place, and learned quickly how to tighten the wires. Sam didn't talk much, but every once in a while he glanced at her and nodded approvingly. That silent nod meant more to her than any long speech could. Day after day, Anna followed this routine. Early mornings, hard work, little rest. Some nights she fell asleep in her truck before even finishing her dinner. Her body hurt in places she didn't even know could hurt. But each sunrise she got up again. Because little by little something inside her was changing. The tiredness no longer felt like a weight. It felt like strength being built. The people at the ranch started noticing. Clara began saving her an extra slice of cornbread at dinner. Sam started giving her tips without her even asking. The 2 younger ranch hands stopped doubting her and started working with her like part of the team. Even the horses seemed to trust her more. When she walked by, they leaned closer to her hand. Jack didn't give her easy tasks. If anything, he gave her the hardest ones. But every time she completed them, she caught a small look in his eyes. Quiet approval. The kind that meant more than words. One evening, after a long day, Anna sat alone on a small wooden fence near the pasture. The sky was painted in deep orange. The horses were calm and the wind felt soft on her face. She thought back to the first day she arrived here, tired, hungry, and scared. She didn't feel that way anymore. She was tired, yes, but now it was the good kind. The kind that came from honest work. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she belonged somewhere. Weeks turned into a month. The trial days were long gone, and Jack never said anything directly, but everyone knew she had earned her place. She had learned how to ride and train the horses with the young ranch hands. She helped Clara in the kitchen when needed, fixed fences with Sam, and handled the daily chores without anyone needing to remind her. She had become part of the rhythm of the ranch. One morning, Jack walked over to her as she was brushing one of the horses. "You've done good work," he said simply. Anna turned, surprised. He wasn't the kind of man who gave compliments often. "Thank you," she said softly. He handed her a folded piece of paper. "It's your first paycheck. You've earned it." She held the envelope with both hands. It wasn't a fortune, but to her it felt like the world. It was proof that she had rebuilt something, not just a job, but her own strength. Jack tipped his hat. "Keep showing up like this and you'll have a future here." Those words stayed with her long after he walked away. As the months passed, the ranch changed her. She grew stronger, more confident. She learned how to fix machines, guide horses, and even lead some of the chores on her own. She was no longer the woman who whispered at the gate asking for a chance. She was part of the team, part of something bigger than herself. One night, as the stars filled the wide sky, Clara sat beside her outside the barn. "You know," Clara said softly, "when I first came here, I was just like you. Scared, lost. But this place has a way of building people back up." Anna looked at the sky and smiled. "I think it's doing that to me, too," Clara chuckled. "No, Anna, you're the one doing it. The ranch just gives you the space." Anna thought about that for a long time. It was true. The ranch gave her the chance, but she was the one who decided to fight for it every morning. Another few weeks later, there was a big storm. The wind howled across the fields, rain poured down, and the horses were restless. Everyone rushed out to secure the barn. Anna didn't think twice. She worked alongside Jack and the others in the cold and wet night, tying ropes, guiding the animals, and making sure everything stayed safe. When the storm finally passed, everyone was soaked and exhausted, but nothing had been lost. Jack looked at the team, then at Anna, and gave a proud nod. That night, when they all sat around the small kitchen table, wet boots on the floor and steam rising from hot coffee, Anna felt something warm in her chest. She was home. Time has a way of turning hard moments into stepping stones. Anna didn't have a perfect life, but she had built something solid, something real. The woman who had once begged for a chance now stood tall, not because anyone gave her anything for free, but because she earned it. She never forgot the day she whispered those desperate words at the gate. But now, when she walked across the ranch, people didn't see a stranger. They saw Anna, the woman who showed up, who worked hard, who became one of them. And on quiet evenings, when the sun set over the wide open land and the horses grazed peacefully, Anna smiled to herself. She had found her place. She had found her strength again.